Good morning. Welcome to day 3. I am really enjoying sharing what I'm sharing with you, and I really hope that you are actually doing something with the things that I'm sharing with you, because action is what it actually takes to create this stuff. Action is what it takes to live your most wild and vibrant life. And that is what we're talking about today. We're talking about the 3 pillars of commitment to living a wild and vibrant life. And already you've probably looked at what I've put in this post of what they are and gone, what? Maybe very much so about the first one. Because the first one is forget about the money. Now, believe me, it has taken me a lot of years to get to the place of being able to say that to you and say it and truly mean it. Because when it comes to money, I have had the biggest roller coaster ride around finances. And you know what? Because I didn't trust, which we'll come on to in the third point. And actually, so much of what I did was because, again, the second point, me constantly being in a vibration of pleasing everybody else and not thinking about Claire. So what do I mean really by forget about the money? Well, we can get ourselves into such turmoil around money. And yes, it is important, believe me, it is important in that, we all need to eat and we all need to have a roof over our heads. Or I say we need to have a roof over our heads. We choose and want to have a roof over our heads. But sometimes, sometimes shit happens where things go categorically wrong. And for me, a lot of the stuff that has gone categorically wrong is because the universe was teaching me a really valuable and important lesson about the shit decisions I made around money. I will openly, honestly tell you that I made decisions about money from a place of desperation. And they were horrifically terrible decisions that I made because I convinced myself that I had no other choice when I absolutely had. And I made really bad decisions that had massive repercussions on me. And, they were decisions, like I say, that came from a place of desperation. And why was that? Because I didn't trust. I didn't trust in what was going on in here. I went totally against what my gut instinct was telling me. And I actually, in the moment when I was making them, I knew that at some point in the future they were going to come and bite me on the ass in a pretty momentous way. And they absolutely did. So, we're going to talk about, in the third point, about believing and trusting and being grateful. But this, I kind of feel like now I've started talking about this, all of the points are going to mesh into one because they're all so relevant to each other. And the 3 pillars of committing to your wild and vibrant life are just totally intermingled and enmeshed in each other. Because I truly believe that we all came here for a purpose, that we all came here to do a particular job, to inspire particular people, we've all got a certain vibration that we are here to share. And the world has changed. The vibration of this planet has shifted literally in the last month, and things are seriously switching up onto a whole different level. And as I'm saying this, I have to do a big yawn. And do you know why I just let that go right then? Because that was totally spontaneous. I let it go because yawning is a release of energy. And what that told me is, in saying that, there was something that I was releasing in sharing that with you. So I've kind of lost my train of thought now, but it'll come back in a minute, I have absolutely no doubt. So money decisions, the money that is going on in your life, the money that you want to be going on in your life, you know, it's about setting your intentions, as we talked about yesterday, and as we've talked about pretty much, you know, since we started this. It's about setting your intentions, getting really clear on them, and sticking to those intentions, and then forgetting about it. You know, we hear so much from, you know, I've heard so many times from Esther Hicks with the Abraham teachings, from Gabrielle Bernstein, amazing lady that I love the work that she does, and lots of other people, that, you know, when we forget about the money and we kind of allow that flow to happen, that is when the magic really happens. But when you're in that moment of desperation, you're in that moment of, how am I going to pay my bills this month? How am I going to cover this? How am I going to cover that? And you're in total fear, which, believe me, I totally know how that feels. We do get lost, and we get into that place of fear and desperation, and we get into that place of, I don't know how this is going to happen. And, you know, again, from the teachings of what Gabrielle Bernstein has shared, it's about trusting that the universe has your back, and trusting in the process, believing in what you actually can do. I get a message every single day, and the message today was all about certainty. And all of us ladies that live in this world of entrepreneurship, running our own businesses, you know, certainty is something that we don't have a huge amount of. In fact, actually, do you know what? I kind of truly believe that the world that we live in today, hardly anybody has got any certainty about anything. Because, you know, let's go ever so slightly political for a moment. You know, at the moment we are in the thick of a really massive decision for the UK around Brexit. And actually, you know what? There is so much grey in what they're doing, and there's no certainty in any of it, because actually what they're talking about is making a really big decision and then leaving lots of doors open. And so, you know, even when we look at the people that are running our country, do they have certainty? Not really. You know, is Theresa May going to survive this? Who knows? You know, we can only live in the moment and the second that we're in right now, because that's the only thing that we actually have certainty about. So letting go of the money thing and letting go of trying to control too much of it is one of the best ways that you can actually unleash your wild side and live this most vibrant and wonderful life. Because in letting it go and trusting in the process and trusting in what's going to happen, then that is when what is really inside you truly starts to come out. Now, this is very, very woo. And for a long time, this is not the kind of thing that I would have shared with you. I would have been scared to share this, because I was scared about what people were going to think, which kind of leads me really, really nicely onto the second point that we're talking about today, and that is being you and pleasing you. As human beings, we have built into us this thing about, you know, wanting to keep others happy. Some people don't live in that world. You know, there's a lot of very narcissistic people out there that, you know, that doesn't even enter into their space. But more often than not, there are a lot of people that are truly, truly committed to pleasing other people. Now, my mum was a shining example of that. She was a shining example of putting everybody else in her life first. And, you know, it was an absolutely beautiful, endearing quality in her. But it culminated in her actually passing over from this particular world really, really early, far sooner than, you know, the ones of us that are left would have liked to have been. And why was that? Because she ended up having a massive amount of disease in her body. And for me, the majority of that disease was born from her doing exactly what I've just said, pleasing everybody before herself, pleasing everybody at the detriment of herself, thinking that she wasn't important enough to actually put her first. So, you know, when you start on the journey of actually doing you first, believe me, there's a lot of resistance that comes up, and I can absolutely categorically assure you there will be a huge amount of heartache in it as well. So how do you do it? You put on your big girl pants, you know, the Supergirl variety, and you be brave. Because when I say you're going to be met with a lot of resistance, you will be met with a lot of resistance. There will probably be people that you never thought would not be in your life that will go out of your life. And, you know, ultimately you'll realise that that is okay, and that is how it was supposed to be. I talk quite often about the fact that people are in our life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I believe that whichever one it is, they are always there to teach us a lesson. They are always there to help us see something in a way that maybe we wouldn't have seen it before. And so, you know, dealing with that resistance is really challenging sometimes. And it does take a lot of courage, it takes a lot of bravery, and it takes a lot of inner strength. So how do you do it? Well, the first step sometimes is just not to comment and not to say anything. Now, you can argue that that's a little bit around, you know, well, you're not actually facing it then if you don't say anything. But as with everything I share with you, it's about doing this in bite-sized chunks. So the first step of this, in my experience and the way that I dealt with it, was to start off with by not saying anything. Because sometimes silence is far more powerful than anything else that you can do. Because the silence actually means that you're not agreeing, you're not disagreeing, and you start to put yourself into that place of neutral. You will have initially this kind of pang that as soon as you go into that silence, that panic sets in, and you start to think that, oh no, you know, now I need to say something, because they will probably be silent and they will potentially kind of maybe start to challenge and question. And that's where, you know, the Supergirl pants come in, and that's where you have to be really, really brave, because that is about you kind of sitting back and being very brave and very resilient for yourself, because you've got to learn resilience. You've got to learn how to protect you. The second thing is about actually putting an imaginary shield around you and actually allowing their negativity and their energy to bounce off that shield. Now this again might seem a little bit like, I'm not really too sure how I do that, Claire. Just literally, when you are in the moment and you are feeling challenged about being you, and you are feeling a little bit, you know, resistant to actually carrying this through and continuing with this, because starting it is one thing, keeping it going is a whole different ball game. And again, the silence is the first step. The second step is putting this imaginary shield around you. And believe me, this really does work, because when you put this imaginary shield around you, what actually happens is you start to allow what is going on with them to bounce off that shield. And when we talk about being energetic beings, and we talk about having, you know, taking on other people's energy, taking on what's going on with the people around us, by actually putting this shield around us, we start to bounce that energy off. And what that in turn does is helps us keep our vibration in a really, really beautiful place. Now we're going to be talking more about the spiritual side of all this, I think tomorrow or Saturday. So I will talk to you more about that, and I've got some really beautiful stuff to share with you around that. But coming back to today, very much protect you, protect your energy, protect the vibration, because ultimately when we go back to step one and forgetting about the money, you know, if you are not in a great place of vibration, then you are not going to attract what you really, really want to attract into your life, because you are going to be taking on all of the shit of everybody else, and then you are going to end up getting stuck back in a place that ultimately you don't want to be in. So, you know, like I say, there's going to be some heartache, there's going to be some resistance, but then in the aftermath of all of this, and once you keep practicing this, and once you keep doing it, what actually happens is these people will stop making these comments. They'll stop coming to you for these conversations, and then the aftermath is that actually they start going and doing that with somebody else. Now, you know, you can argue, is that right or wrong? Because, you know, then it's somebody else taking it rather than you. But actually the universe is then taking the lesson to that particular person for them to start doing exactly what you've done. And it's only when we all start collectively to do this and start collectively being in our own vibration and being us, because that's all we ever came here to be, that we really do start to collectively change the conscious energy on this planet. Now, family can be a really big challenge in all of this. And again, when I say all of this to you, believe me, I say it from a place of experience. I know how it feels to have massive challenges around family. You know, when my mum passed away a couple of years ago, me and my brother separated pretty much straight away. And then earlier this year, me and my sister separated as well. And actually, you know, that wasn't just those three people, as in my mum, my brother and my sister. It was all their families as well. So in losing my mum, I actually lost 10 other members of my family, which has been challenging. And it's been, you know, it's hard enough losing somebody so very dear to you, but then, you know, losing other people that have been a constant in your life your entire life can be really, really hard. But it then leads me on really nicely to the third step and the third pillar of, you know, committing to your wild and vibrant life. And that is trusting, believing, and being grateful. It can be hard to be grateful sometimes for losses. It can be hard to be grateful for things that in the very moment that they happen, the emotional trauma that it causes, and again, believe me, I know a huge amount about emotional trauma, can be so very, very difficult. But it's only when we actually admit that these things have been really, really sabotaging to our life that we really start to heal from it and we start to move forward. We can actually fool ourselves into that we haven't got any hurts and that we don't get, you know, hurt by these things and by these people. But let me ask you, you know, get a monitor over the next few days on your anger levels. Get a monitor on what you are getting distressed about and what you are getting angry about, and get a monitor on where your energy is actually going in a challenging place. Because, you know, actually monitoring how we show up and how we are behaving is a real key to us being honest about how our life is actually playing out, and starting to trust in the process, starting to trust in the universe, and starting to trust that the universe truly does have your back, and that all of this is for a very good reason, again, is a huge step. Now, I'm not really going to talk too much about any of this more now, because I'm going to be covering a lot more in the final 3 days of the challenge starting tomorrow. But you know, if you want some help with this, if you have realised quite a lot of stuff about yourself in listening to what I've shared thus far, and you know, the only way that I've been able to get through a huge amount of what I've got through, some of it I've done on my own because I needed to do it on my own, but the other way that I've done it is by having guidance, having support, and having accountability. And there's a few different ways that I can help you with that. The first is keep watching the videos on my page, keep following what I'm sharing on my page, and start the journey, because sometimes making a start and actually watching this stuff is the very first step. The next step for you is maybe you want to come over and join my Becoming Unincorporated Being You group, because I've got an amazing group which is there to support all of you amazing women, all of you amazing ladies, and it is there to help you seriously get your vibe moving. Now, the next thing, which isn't really available just yet and is going to be available in January, is my Wild Woman Tribe. Now, if you want to start hearing more about the Wild Woman Tribe, I'm going to pop links for all of this in the comments below this video. But the Wild Woman Tribe is going to start in January, and simply it is a group that is all about unleashing your wild self and helping you literally day by day to become the wild and vibrant woman, unleashed woman, unlimited woman, unlocked woman, unincorporated woman that you are here to be. So watch this space, because the information about that is going to start coming out thick and fast, and if you want to hear about that, I'm going to pop a link below where you can start getting some information from me. The final one is, as it is my birthday week, I am doing a super special offer on my one-to-one lifestyle coaching and support. And that is, as I am 43 years young, I decided to give you a whopping 43% discount off of my coaching. So, you know, if you want to have that one-to-one support, if you want to come into my world, if you want me to be there with you, vibing this into reality and seriously changing what's going on for you, then book an appointment in with me. Again, I'll pop a link below, and you know, let's get this on. Let's seriously change this up for you. Being brave, you know, it's seriously underrated, because there are things that happen to us in our life that show us bravery that we didn't even know existed, let alone that we possessed. But only in being and doing can we have ultimately what we're here to have, and we have it for the right reasons and on the right terms. So a fairly short one today. I'm not going to do a recap. I'm going to encourage you to go back and watch the video again, because once we absorb it on the first level, there's then always a next level and a next level and a next level to come after that. So sometimes you need to watch it more than once. Sometimes you will get things, well, not sometimes, always you will get something different the second, third and fourth time that you watch something than you did the first time. We're like an onion, people. We peel the first layer, we understand it on that level, and then we start to dig a bit deeper, and we take the next layer and the next layer and the next layer. And you know, when I work with you one-to-one and you come into the energy space that I hold for you, that's what we do. We start to peel the onion, and we start to actually unleash and uncover the most amazing you. So share this video. Maybe somebody else that you know needs to hear it after you've heard it today. And yeah, huge love to you all. Trust and have faith that the universe absolutely has your back. I'll catch you tomorrow.